Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. And I am almost done with this piece of Zhongli fan art. And so now I just need to add some more details, then I can go over into shading. And this piece should not take so long because once I finish my shading and lighting, I should be done. That should be it. And then I can finally just post this piece as well as post the audio. Well, not post the audio, but record the audio that I had planned that I've been working on. And so while I do that, I actually decided to think of some core topics and plan out and plot out some core topics I wanted to go over for this live stream. And sort of like just take the time to really think about and process what I wanted from all of this. Hmm. So for now, I just need to write the. So for now, I just need to draw the characters on the back of his chair. That's really what I'm missing right now. So the characters, so the characters are kind of like this ancient text, this ancient language, and I don't know what it is, but it is quite interesting how they got it. And from the looks of it, the characters almost seem shaded in, or at least sculpted in, because this is a 3D model. So I think how I'm gonna go about it is I'll probably just choose a darker color than what I have for the chair. And then what I can do is I can, when I go to shade and add detail, I can just add a few embellishments around the figure. I'm just dropping stuff in earshot near my mic. You guys are probably getting annoyed. Sorry about that. I wonder if there's any other stills I can take from and draw from. Let's see here. This piece has definitely been more so on the interesting side just because of how much I've had to do with it and for it. Now, when it comes to the orb, I actually don't know what I want to do for it. Like, I guess I could probably do like go like a peach color, or like not a peach, but like an orange cream color, and sort of draw over the outline, or at least give it a nice highlight in some areas and places. Actually, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be talking about the Bible. Hmm. So, where do I want to start? So to start off, I would say that the Bible has always been a history book first, where it details the course and origins of human history. But even in that, the Bible, while it does make many references to itself, in that same vein, it also utilizes story. And I would say that in that we as humans oftentimes tend to overthink things. So, in God's wisdom, there are many moments and times where God has given us stories. Like, one of the perfect examples is a story of a man who went out on his own, like, left his father's house, and then after a while, everything sort of went bad for him and he was struggling. So, he finally had to return to his father's home, and his father welcomed him back, clothed him in fine cloths and linens, had his servants like butcher a, I think it was either butcher a cow or butcher a lamb, and have a feast for his son for returning home. And so that is a good analogy to how God is always willing and ready to welcome us back when we turn back towards him. Jesus was also a storyteller as well. And so the point I make, the point being, is that parable and analogy has always been a tool used in the faith, but it has become a lost art. And while, yes, I am of the belief that demons exist, spirits and powers exist as well. But in that same vein, mm, how do I put it? It's not that But I would say that in that same vein, there are certain things that we can use to help spread the message. Because in a bid to sort of reclaim Christianity and reclaim many of the ideals, messages, and motives of the faith, there has been sort of this split dichotomy. You're either of the belief that, cartoons are for kids and literally every single cartoon or animated media is inherently childish or for children, and or you're of the belief that cartoons and music carries hidden messages, which I mean they do. Like, of course they do. Like, there's a spirit behind practically everything. But the reason why I would say that the devil has become more prevalent is because the devil and darkness feeds on desires. And people desire engaging stories. People desire relevant characters. People are entertained by and like watching struggle and people overcome and people having these astronomical goals, dreams, wishes, and desires. And so, what the old guard Christians do is they completely ignore that, which is why a lot of Christian content, save for maybe Prince of Egypt, is horrible because it's just that face value, be kind, Veggie Tales, sort of like, for a lack of a better word, crap. And it is crap. Like, a lot of entertainment that the faith produces is horrible. And it's also very dumbed down. Even when people desire more engaging and interesting story and media and content, a lot of the stuff that the old guard Christians make is just crap and horrible. And I think that there is definitely room for more engaging storytelling, which is why I like to point out that God was a user of parable and analogy. Jesus was a storyteller who used parable and analogy. So we can't just ignore that. Like, that is a facet of the faith. That is a major facet of the belief, but it's kind of been abandoned. And so if believers, if the children and followers truly believe and truly want to and desire to save people, then we now have to get back into the methods and practices that we lost. So, what do I need to fix first? I definitely think that my first thing should probably be the skin. I want to add some more tone to it because on my tablet it's coming across as like this. Like there's a faint orangish tint, whereas on my computer screen it's coming off as a more red. So I do think that if I add some tone to it and add some more dimension to his model, then that would give him a bit better of a look. So the re Oh, hello, how are you? It's good to see you again. Now I'm going to take this. I hope I did that right. Oh, that's the eraser tool. That's why nothing happened. I'm just drawing and I'm like, what's happening? Writing an essay about the resource conflict in Cambodia. So I won't be talking as much. That's alright. I'm just doing some of my own thing. Getting ready for my next speed paint, and that's gonna be very fun and interesting. Now I wonder if I can add a ooh, not a dodge, but maybe like a burn effect. Because the multiplier is too much. I think the linear burn would be best. And then I'll just alter the opacity. I actually have not heard of that holiday, Eld Al Fitr. But that does sound not necessarily familiar, but the at least from the way it's the way the way you spelt it, Aid Al Fitr, that sounds like maybe some Hebrew. You know, I have a computer like right in front of me. I can look it up. Oh, the end of Ramadan? I'm not a practitioner of Islam. I'm not a Muslim. But I will say that while I consider myself Christian, oh, Arabic. While I don't practice Ramadan, but I do respect it. Ramadan is when they fast, correct? Mhm. I have practiced fasting before. Like, I'll do a religious fast for like a few days, and then I'll pray right afterwards, but I don't really follow like Ramadan specifically. Not really much on that subject I can really talk about or speak about. I would say that many of the Judeo-Christian religions and faiths, they have a lot of interplay because the Torah is just the first testament, correct? I mean, not the first testament, the Old Testament, my bad. Whereas the New Testament was brought about by Jesus Christ coming to earth, teaching, ministering, and then dying on the cross for our sins. And I haven't really done too much research on Judaism, but they do still believe in a God, and they have their own practices that I would need to do some more research on. And once I finish my Garden Gaming series, I would like to expand this into other genres and other games as well. Like, I've definitely been thinking about. I play a lot of Final Fantasy 14, the MMORPG, and I just love it. It's so engaging. And I haven't taken much deeper thought into it, but I would like to look at Vana as a character. So Vana is an ancient. Basically, her people were sort of like stewards of the planet where they created life and they did a bunch of other stuff. But because of one of their own falling to despair and sort of going mad, he made a creation that is going to sing the end of the world. And there's already like a lot of parallels between that and I want to say the Book of Revelations, as well as other stuff. And I would like the chance and opportunity to really share my thoughts on it, as well as give a deeper analysis. But I think it's so interesting. Like, humanity has such a strong and interwoven history and connection to story and storytelling. Like, that's why media and entertainment is so it's so funded and it's so backed as it is, because we have almost like an innate desire or an innate connection with storytelling. And I just think that people should definitely take it more seriously than they do. Because what sucks, what's really horrible, is that many people just ignore it. Like, how can you ignore stories? Like, how can you look at things like comics and say, oh, that's just for kids, or oh, grow up? And like, even in my day job, like, even at my place of work, like, there are people, grown people, who still love to play video games, who still love to tell stories. And it's like, there's so much room. That's really all I can say, is that there is so much room and there's so much space for further development and further progression and progress. I'm not really much into horror movies or horror games. Like, now, when I was younger, I did get very much into like Five Nights at Freddy's lore. Like, I would say that I've always had an appreciation for story. It's just that when it came to FNAF lore, that's what really got me to look deeper into the content that I watch. And it was always like fun and engaging. Now, when it comes to horror, more widespread, like, I don't know. I guess I just haven't found the right horror for myself. Okay, so when it comes to Christianity portrayed in horror, like, they make Christianity weak. And so, like, I just want to redo horror entirely. Like, I want to see, like, a priest shoot beams of light out of his hands, or, like, expel and destroy demons. Like, they need to do more stuff like that. Like, that's why I really don't like the new Castlevania Nocturne, is because they dumb down Christianity so much. Like, you have stuff like Jeremiah and Ezekiel. Like, Jeremiah was laying down curses that were like Jeremiah was laying down prayers that were curses. Ezekiel like called down fire. You have Moses who split the sea and was a steward for God's plagues. You have Noah who freaking cursed his own. Well, he didn't curse. Noah didn't curse his son. Noah cursed his grandson. So like, God is powerful, but when it comes to horror movies, like they dumb it down so much, and that's part of the reason why I like the show that I'm working on so much, is because I want to make a power system that is based on faith. And after I'm done with my first show, I do want to work on a second show that more so goes into like the power of God and the power of faith. Like if I were to make my own horror movie, like the strongest person in there is gonna be the pastor. I'm sorry, but like they just dumb it down so much, and they just need to put some respect. Of course, it doesn't compare to the Old Testament. And even in the New Testament, you had Jesus like resurrecting people from the dead and casting demons into pigs and them drowning in the sea. And pardon my language, but the Bible is badass. Okay, the Bible is awesome. Like, you got some wild stuff going on in there. But like, the issue is that, and I think it comes down to the fact that people don't read it. Like, people will handpick people will handpick a few verses for our lesson, but rarely do people read it all the way through. And the Bible is definitely a book that you have to read all the way through to get any sort of context or understanding from it. Like, it's not disjointed lessons, it's a story. So you kind of have to look at entire chapters. You can't just look at a set of 3 or 4 verses, especially when it comes to the Old Testament. Like, God gave Moses instructions on how to like make manna, where it was like the dew of plants and taking these crackers. I could go more into detail from it, and I'd have to like reread the chapter. But like, basically, the Israelites, when they were coming out of Egypt, they had to wander the wilderness. And there was a story that goes into them being hungry and thirsty. And so, like, Moses struck a rock and formed a river and formed drinking water, and people put it in canisters to travel with them. And then there was also the creation of manna, which is like this rich, nutrient type food made from dew and something else. And it goes over into the creation of it. And then there were countless times where God had commanded Moses to like bring the elders in for these different rituals and these different ways and methods of practice and understanding. And it's like there is power to the faith. That's what I like is that reading it all the way through, you get an understanding of the power of the faith. And it is a power that few people understand or realize. And just by reading it for oneself, you get that much of a stronger understanding of who you are in it all. There's this famous horror story about Thailand that I'm not sure whether you've heard. Mm, probably not, but you can still tell me. Like, just horror in general is not my cup of tea. So, I mean, I would not be opposed to watching horror. It's just, I don't watch a lot of horror to begin with. Like, I like series. Like, I watch TV series, I watch shows. I like long, overarching stories and journeys. Like, that's really what I get into. Like, the longer the show, the better. And I think that's why I like tabletop role playing games so much, is because it gives me the sense, idea, and feeling of like almost an endless story or an endless journey. Hmm. Okay, let me put this on a multiply layer. Y'all have to do like a faint layer of this, and then I'll go back over it and do a darker layer. But I do like the fact that I used blue for it. I decided to go with a color on the opposite end of the color wheel, and it helped neutralize it because a lot of the colors I use for this figure are more so on the warm side. But this opposing color scheme actually gives a nice blackness to it. Like this feels like an actual shade to me. A soldier comes home to his wife and newborn son from a war. Everything seems fine, but their neighbors are giving his wife weird looks. He eventually finds out his wife died in childbirth and his son was still. Ooh. Wait, so if his wife died in childbirth and his son is stillborn, then how are they up and moving? Like, is he moving them himself? And could, because he's a soldier, could he have like some form of PTSD to where he just like dug up his wife or something? Or like, so he ran to the nearest temple for protection, which made his wife mad. That sounds like a good movie. I'll definitely have to look into it. Uh, so like they would actually appease the character from the movie. I mean, I can see it. Like I can see people like praying or giving offerings for stuff like that. I mean, personally, I wouldn't do it, but I do understand the sentiment by it. Well, yeah, folklore. But that's what I meant. Like it's the folklore or it's the spirit behind it. That makes sense. It definitely sounds interesting. It is 1:10, so it is time for me to go. Yeah, it's 1:10. It's time for me to go. I need to finish getting ready for work. But as you know, I have my longer streams on Friday. So that's going to be about 2.5, maybe even 3 hours long. You too. I know it's like nighttime where you're at. Last time you said it was like 1 a.m. So I hope you get some rest. Anyway, this has been Owo's Corner. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share even. And I'll see you guys in my next video or live stream. Bye.